Hey, welcome. Today, we're diving into something that's at the absolute core of the tech world, models. But we're going to flip the script on what you think a model is for. What if the most important part isn't the final polished diagram? What if it's actually the messy, collaborative, and, let's be honest, sometimes difficult conversations that get you there? Let's get into it.
You really have to start right here with this classic quote from the statistician George Box. It just sets the stage perfectly. I mean, think about it. If you accept that no model can ever be a perfect copy of reality, it totally changes the game. The goal isn't perfection anymore, it's about being useful.
And yeah, this brings us right to the big question, doesn't it? Why do we keep falling into this trap? We chase this idea of the perfect diagram, the one single source of truth, completely forgetting that we're asking it to do something it was never designed to do. So let's break down this super common, but kind of flawed approach. We've all been there, right? The belief that if we just had the right picture, all our problems would magically disappear. But as we're about to see, that's often exactly where the trouble starts. You know the scene. A systems architect gets brought into a project, and the first thing they're asked to do is create the North Star model. The big dream is that this one perfect diagram will finally get everyone on the same page, marching in the same direction. And on the surface, hey, that sounds pretty logical, right? But here's the thing. This almost always fails. And the reason why is fascinating. It has absolutely nothing to do with how good the diagram is. The real mistake is that we're trying to solve people problems, communication, relationships, politics, with a technical drawing. It's also a pretty classic attempt to force a vision from the top down, and that just doesn't work in complex systems. Okay, so if thinking of models as just static pictures is the problem, what's the solution? Well, it's a huge shift in perspective. We have to stop obsessing over the final artifact and start focusing on the process.
This quote right here gets to the heart of everything. A beautiful diagram hanging on a wall doesn't magically create alignment. It's the act of creating it. The arguments, the debates, the aha moments you have together, that's what actually unifies a team. The value is in the verb, not the noun. It's in the doing.
So this means we need a whole new definition of modeling. It's not about drawing boxes and arrows. It's the process of figuring out the right questions to ask so that a group of people can actually think through something complex together. It's a tool for creating shared knowledge, not just taking a static photo of a system. And when you think this way, it changes everything. Models literally become the conversations. The goal isn't to find the one right answer anymore, it's to explore the best questions. And since no single picture can tell the whole story, you start to see them as this web of interconnected ideas that help you find the real leverage points for making a difference.
Now you might be sitting there thinking, okay, this sounds a little abstract, but this conversational systems thinking approach, it's actually being used all over the place in totally different fields. Let's look at a really clear example. Okay, so check this out. On the left, you've got the thought process of Diana, a systems architect. On the right, Dawn, an interface designer. Look at how similar their processes are. I mean, yeah, they use slightly different words, but the core steps are basically identical. Understand the context, work with other people, get feedback, and then tell a compelling story. It's the same pattern. And this famous quote from Steve Jobs just nails it, doesn't it? It bridges that gap perfectly. It doesn't matter if you call yourself an architect or a designer, you're fundamentally obsessed with one thing, figuring out how the system works. And there's just no way to do that without having deep, meaningful conversations about it.
So, to see what happens when these critical conversations don't happen, let's look at a case study. It's about a company called Mago, and it's a pretty powerful cautionary tale.
Back in the day, Mago was a publishing titan. Their whole system was elegantly built around the idea of a printed page. But then, well, the internet happened, and their whole world turned into chaos. Different teams started building their own separate solutions, the original software got older and older, and the whole thing just completely lost its coherence.
So what is Mago's actual problem? Well, if you ask 10 people there, you're going to get 10 different answers. One person screams, "Our software is obsolete." Another says, "We're not digital first." Someone else is complaining that their data is trapped. See the issue? Everyone is trying to solve a different problem from inside their own silo. And when a group can't even agree on the problem, they will never agree on a solution. It's just complete paralysis.
And this quote right here is the perfect diagnosis. Mago's failure wasn't a technical one, it was a conversational one. They skipped the most important part. They jumped right into arguing about solutions before they ever did the hard work of getting in a room and agreeing on what the problem actually was.
All right, so we've spent a lot of time on the why. Let's switch gears to the how. How can you actually start having these better conversations in your own work? Well, the good news is you can start really small.
This is the really cool part. You don't have to throw out all the tools you're already using. You can just transform them by changing the perspective. A wireframe is no longer the final design, it's a tool for having a conversation about how things interact. A backlog isn't just a to-do list for a dev, it's a model of impactful changes that the entire team actually understands.
And here is a fantastic, super practical framework you can literally start using tomorrow. These 7 questions force you to think like a systems thinker. You're not just asking about code here, you're asking about how information flows, what the boundaries are, even how your teams are structured. Just the act of working through these questions together, that is modeling. It shifts the whole focus from artifacts to inquiry.
Okay, let's bring this all home for our final and most important takeaway. When we talk about building systems, we're usually thinking about code and servers, but the real system we're building is something much, much deeper. This quote from Frank Herbert it's a heavy one, but it is so important. It's a reminder that the systems we create, whether they're made of software or people, are never neutral. They are soaked in our unexamined beliefs, our biases, and if we don't make a conscious effort to challenge them through conversation, our systems will just keep reinforcing the same old way of doing things.
So, if you boil it all down, it's this. The goal is not to create a better diagram. The goal is to build a better system for thinking together. The most important, most powerful system you will ever build is the one that allows your team to understand, to challenge, and to shape its own reality through rich, dynamic conversation. And that leaves us with one final thought for you to take back to your team. The quality of your software, your products, your entire company, it's a direct reflection of the quality of your conversations. So the question is, are you having the right ones? Thanks for joining me.